Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the recap review for Tyler Perry's Sistas. So before I get into this recap review, I want to remind y'all that I have put up a couple of videos that are putting a spotlight on Black-owned businesses, like this one right here. I had a whole lot of products that I've used from this person right here, which is from a Black woman. There have been some issues that I heard of from her and her husband, but that was before I purchased the product. So, it is what it is, and I'm gonna finish up my products and use discretion if I go any further with them. But I use this, it's in my hair right now. As far as my edges are concerned, this product right here, I use this every other day or once every 3 days. My scalp feels amazing. I actually have something else on the way, but this is hairgrowthco.com. I love it. My scalp loves it. And my number one staple that I have been using is this from playpits.com. Black-owned business, a mother. And yeah, she really puts in hard work. And an update on the item that I actually have been using, because I mainly purchased deodorant from her. For whatever reason, the tester was not working for me. I'm thinking that they use arrowroot in it as the substitute for baking soda, and it does not work for me. And that particular one is called Love, and they had several different batches of it that they've made. I don't know if each one has something different in it or what, but I had from the second batch Love, and I used it, and my body smelled the way it used to smell, which was musty, and I wasn't here for it. So I love this. This is where it's at. So anyway, on to the recap review, y'all. Woo child. Zack is in his cell begging and pleading with the police officer to let him have a phone call and trying to get her to understand that he really did not do any of these things that he's being accused of. She over here talking about, it's so sad, I had hope in you, and it's crazy because they said that you were a model inmate and all this other stuff. And so he was like, please let me call my lawyer. Her name is Andi. So she gonna say, I done already risked my job for you before. I ain't doing nothing. I'm not letting you call no more of your hoes. And he was like, that's not my hoe. I ain't with her, and all this other stuff. Y'all, it just got so bad that he told her, F her. And so she was like, all right, I'm going. And I'm just like, girl, oh my gosh. I mean, she said it off on him, was like, yeah, we're going to let them see. We're going to let the courts decide what you've done. And she ain't trying to hear nothing he's saying. And I'm just like, he's made all of these strides to do better. Why would you think he would risk that all of a sudden for this? Because she read him and was like, I thought you was going to get a legit job. You ain't got no legit job. You out here doing this. And he was like, I don't sell drugs. But she ain't trying to hear it. So the dummy Andi is at work, and she told Fatima that she can go ahead and go home, all in an effort for her to sneak off, basically, and call Gary and tell him, oh, can you meet up at my place? I'm leaving work. Of course, he happy-go-lucky and here for it. Girl, why? Ain't nothing else to discuss. What is the point, girl? For what? For what? Anyway, Fatima is in the parking garage about to get in her car when Hayden high-step it over to her. And I'm just like, boy, if you don't get... And so she keeps looking at him every time he pop up out of nowhere. He's so happy-go-lucky and doing the most. And she was like, let me find out you did something. Because she literally just heard Zack's message, asking her to come and get him out of jail and that he would fill her in tonight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of Hayden, y'all. Like, Hayden went from being like this nice looking dude who, I thought he was nice looking. And it's like every episode I see him now, I know that this is a show. I'm just saying, like, stuff like this in real life diminishes how a person really can look to you when you acting all arrogant and annoying like he is. Like, at this point, he is very annoying and a stalker. And it's like, she says she don't want you. Like, your feelings should have been hurt when she told you that the sex was trash and that she ain't got no interest in you. You should be hurt and moved on and just deal with her from a distance on a professional level, and that's it. But you won't do that because your ego won't let you. Please go somewhere and sit down. I'm so tired. Y'all, Maurice done got into it with old boy. Is his name Jacoby or Jabari? I think it's Jacoby or whatever his name is. Anyway, he done got into it with this boy because old boy told him to stop calling him the B word. And he was like, I call everybody that. And he was like, I ain't here for it. You need to stop calling me that. And it started to get so nasty that old boy threatened to get Maurice fired. And I was just like, what in the world? Like, it's just a lot going on. So anyway, Sabrina rolled up. Old boy had already finished all his paperwork for the day because he does certain things throughout the day so he don't have to just sit up there and calculate stuff after the bank closes. So he's able to leave at a decent hour. Maurice doesn't, and he's trying to prove that he is worthy of keeping his job. So he's going to be staying after hours again so that nothing ever pops up and all of that. So anyway, Sabrina and Maurice are talking, and somehow he was able to see the note that old boy put on the paperwork that said to meet him at this bar or someplace for them to get something to drink because it's going to be happy hour. And she trying to figure out how he know that. But anyway, she starts to put two and two together and was like, you like him. And at first he tried to deny it. And then he finally confessed. And he's like, I love everything about him. I love that man. I love his tattoos. I love his weed smoking lips. He had me, I hollered when he said, I hollered. I was like, no, you didn't. But anyway, so he gonna try to change the subject a little bit and say, well, what about Calvin? And so she was like, he ain't called me. And so he was like, well, you ain't called him either. So, you know, what's going on? I just want them to stop trying to force him on us, force him on her. And my thing is, even if everything else seems like it should be in line with what she should need and want in a man, I don't know if that sexual part of him is going to ever be something that she will be able to get over and just deal with. So I'm like, I mean, at the same time, old boy is not necessarily going to be the be all end all. He might actually end up along the lines of the Alonzos of the world. And he, you know, had a career at one point in time and now he's not able to do that. So he might still have that jock mentality and will try her after he knows that he has won her over. Ain't no telling what's going to happen. So we're going to have to see how that unfolds. So I'm still going to look at him sideways. He is fine, though. He is fine. But I don't know. Danny was at work when old boy's sister popped up. Apparently, she came in on a flight, and she's been, you know, made aware of what happened when her brothers rolled up and beat him down and came up to her job trying her. So she was just like, look, I'm here to talk to you. I want to make sure everything is all right with y'all. He told me that he likes you a lot, and apparently you like him too. So is that true? Are you taking care of him? I feel like you will be able to take care of him. So hopefully if everything is going the way he says that it's going, that I have nothing to worry about. I'm the one who hooked y'all up. Like, she was really, you know, kind of like excited about it. But Daddy was on like, she was on go, like, girl, who are you? Like, it's like for whatever reason, all she associated with her was the fact that she was related to them brothers. And not the fact that the reason why they are even together is because she brought them together and she kept encouraging him to approach her because he was not even going to ever even talk to Danny. So I'm like, girl, why is you acting like you? Like, she really was still looking like, girl, no. So, for whatever reason, she is not understanding that he lives with you. She came into town to see him. Therefore, he's going to come to your apartment to go and see him. But anyway, I'm going to get to that in a second. So she ended up calling Sabrina, and Sabrina is, of course, on her way to go meet old boy at the bar or wherever the little place at that they're going to meet at. And, you know, want to know what she was doing. And she over here thinking that she can invite herself out to go get drinks too, because she talking about she needed. And so she was like, nah, I'm meeting somebody. Told her the situation. And so she was like, okay, do what you do. And then said that his country sister that came into town and all this other stuff. I'm like, why are you acting like you don't remember? Like, I feel like she was triggered so bad by what happened that she's really super on guard, and she shouldn't be in regards to the sister now. Now, them brothers, I understand that. But I feel like for whatever reason, she is just like, your whole family, it's me and you against your whole family. Even though he has already told her that's the one person you ain't got to worry about. But old girl, his sister said that she talked to the mama and all this other stuff. Danny, of course, tried to, come at her sideways because she said ma instead of, mother, mom, and all that little mommy, all the little other pet names people have for saying mother. And she was like, yeah, y'all real country, ain't y'all? And so she was like, yeah, and I'm proud of it. And she was just like, tell them not to come up to my job no more, not to try me no more, because next time it's going to be them instead of the cart. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, and I don't blame Danny because they really tried her. But like I told y'all before, I don't know how I feel about this Sabrina situation with old boy. I got to watch that play out because right now I'm kind of just like, I don't know. I don't know. Fatima went up to the station and she was going to post bail for Zack. And so the person who she was initially talking to ended up pointing her into the direction of the person sitting directly next to her. And that was old bitter girl. And I'm like, why couldn't you just say what it was? Anyway, so she was like, well, just like I was just telling her, I'm here to post bail for Zack. And so she was like, you can't do that because there's no bail to post. He has to wait and sit before a judge. He has to stand before a judge. And so she was like, okay. She ended up telling her who she was as far as, the, professional side of things. And old girl actually acted like she had some sense instead of, because she was looking at her sideways at first when she saw her. She was like, well, are you a lawyer? And she was like, no, I work for a law firm, but yeah, I'm not a lawyer, because she saw how she was dressed and all this other stuff. So she actually got her in the back to be able to see Zack. Y'all, Heifer Andi sat up there and dropped by Karen's salon after hours to talk to her. And I'm like, okay, you ain't tell her that you sat up here and was stupid and invited him over to the house, but whatever. And so she was like, I can look at you and tell what's going on. You done got back with Gary. And so she was like, no, I didn't. I haven't done anything. And then, they went back and forth. And she was like, I already know how it's going to go with you and Zack. You still love Zack. You going to get back at Zack. So it's like, girl, you over here deflecting, knowing good and well you about to walk into a war zone with this idiot that you ain't had no business calling up and giving any of your energy to yet again. And then, like, she talking to Karen, and she was like, I feel like I should be further in life. I feel like I did these things. And I'm like, girl, if you don't... She really sat up here and said she feels like it's her fault that all these things happened, and that, she would have been further in life, and that, she took so much from him. I'm like, this was a whole married man, Heifer. You indeed were wrong when you found out that this man was married to continue on dealing with him. But the fact that he knew he was married too, and he didn't get no divorce decree to present to you. Girl, what is we talking about? Why? Why is this what you have to say? Why is it that this is the woe is me moment for you? You feeling bad about what you've done and all this other. I mean, she really like, I've had so many things taken from him. It's just so... Girl, had things not worked out the way they did, you still would not have a job. You would not have a place to live. You would not have money because they seized all of that Heifer. It's like, what is with the stupidity? I never understood people like her who have all these degrees. You have to go to school. You have to study hard. You have all this book sense, but you ain't got no common sense. Like, I ain't never understood it. It's like, girl, acknowledge the fact that you were wrong in continuously dealing with a married man, but don't sit up here and say, oh God, I had so many things taken from him. I feel like I did these things. That was his fault. That was his karma. In all honesty, he deserved a slug and some more at this point. I'm just saying. All the hurt and pain that he's caused you and the wife and everybody else he done dealt with, girl, bye. Sabrina and Jacoby have met up and they're having drinks and trying to have fun, but Sabrina is turned off by the way that he is talking about Maurice, and she's about to get up and leave. And because he came at her just like somebody else has done before and was like, why he gotta be so flamboyant? Like, how can somebody who's bigger than me, be doing all of that? And I mean, she was just like, you know what, ain't nobody got time. And she was finna go. And so he was like, oh, wait a minute. Why don't you educate me instead of just getting up and leaving? Like, I genuinely don't know what is going on or how to take him and all of that. Like, I don't understand all of this. And so she thought about it. She was like, okay. So she explained to him about the situation with, what's his name? Y'all was about to say Orlando. With that guy who he used to, play ball and all that with, play football and all that with, and Alonzo. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I heard about that. And so she was like, that was a hate crime. Okay? Like, it is what it is. His size ain't got nothing to do with all of that. He's being himself. He can be who he is, which is himself. It just is what it is. And so she tried to just let him know, like, look, he is who he is. Don't, come at him sideways. I did check him on calling you out of your name. So that's all you need to know. So anyway, Fatima is finally able to see Zack, and she gets along with him and asks him what happened. And, because no information has been given to her. So he told her what all he was charged with. And so eventually she's like, I believe you. So he's trying to understand, what'd you say? She was like, I believe you. And so he's trying to, the wheels are turning in his head. He really trying to figure out, like, why would you believe me after saying all of this? Like, I would question it too. Like, you believe me? Like, most people wouldn't have even came down here. You done already had to bail me out of jail before. Like, come on now. So she trying to say, I just believe you. And, that truck was at my house. If it had something to do with me too, they would have arrested me too. So, that kind of put his mind at ease. But she's telling him to be strong and don't worry about it. She's going to get him a lawyer. And he trying to understand what he need a lawyer for, because he ain't done nothing. And I'm like, sir, they not letting you out. You got to go before the judge, honey. They can't even bail you out. You got to calm down. So anyway, she's leaving out of the precinct and she calls Hayden, tells him, you know what, I am free tonight. Come over, bring wine and all this other stuff. And when she get off the phone, you could tell that she know that he's the one who set it all up. So I wonder how she going to set it off. What's she going to do? I hope she go upside his head. That's what I hope. Because he get on my nerves. Danny got home from work and Preston has cooked dinner. He done cleaned up because he ain't had nothing to do. And they were talking about the sister popping up. And so he was like, well, she told me that you wouldn't tell her nothing. And she was like, yeah, nothing. Then she's trying to figure out why there are 3 plates. And she is assuming that Zack is going to be the 3rd person. And so he was like, good and well, if Zack was here, there would be no food. And so she was like, yeah, you're right. He done invited the sister over there and the sister was at the house. And like I said earlier, I'm trying to understand why she would think otherwise. Like, girl, he living with you. Why wouldn't he meet up with the sister? But at the same time, I understand her wondering why is it that he wouldn't just, tell her, give her a heads up. She was like, he wouldn't do that to me. I'm like, girl, yes, he would. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. And that's what he did. Y'all, we're at the end of the episode, and the dummy Andi that sat up here and invited Gary to come over to the house. He got an envelope, and I'm like, what is this in this envelope? So he has presented a one-way ticket to Boston, and then another thing that's in the envelope are divorce papers that he got his wife to sign by threatening to have her sent to jail because of the setup that everything, how everything went down before, because her fingerprints were on stuff. And so he basically had to threaten her with jail time in order for her to sign the papers. So of course this heifer is happy. And I'm like, girl, they talking, he talking about, please. And the last thing, he done showed her a card of somebody who he's seeing. He's seeing a counselor 3 times a week, and even if he is moving to Boston, he'll find somebody out there and continue the counseling or whatever. So of course She done looked over the paperwork, everything looked legit, and she happy to hear all of this. And so, of course, he just sat up there and got on one knee and asked this heifer to marry him. And he was like, remember, I told you that when I get divorced, that I'm gonna marry you. And then he gonna get down on one knee with a Tiffany's box. Boy, get on somewhere. But of course, Andy's a dummy. My thing is this. I understand love. I understand being someone who loves love and everything that it entails. But you are clearly a dummy, as I have been saying this entire time. This fool done showed you who you are. Within this same conversation, you have said to him how insanely jealous he gets. But somehow, in your mind, you're like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And you over here gushing over a fool who is mentally instable. It's just the mental instability for me. He is mentally unstable. He is insanely jealous. He thinks of you as an object because he thinks that he runs you at the drop of a dime. He talks sideways to you and talks to you like you're trash, but somehow you find the amazement in a proposal from him, and you are seriously considering being with him. For what? For what, y'all? And let me tell y'all, the very end of this episode, I meant to say this at the beginning. When Karen was talking to her earlier, I was like, I really hope that Karen follow her and go to the house. Karen is a real one. She be getting on my nerves when it comes to this current situation, but that heifer came through in the clutch, and I'm so here for it. So they kissing and doing what they doing, and I'm like, okay, he leaving. I thought he was finna take his jacket off and try to get her to go to the bedroom. No, he trying to act like he got somewhat of a little bit of sense, and so he leaving. And I was like, Paris gonna be at the door, or she gonna be at the door. It was Karen. Karen was at the door, and she walked in, and I was like, oh my God. Y'all, I was so happy to see Karen. Karen knew it. Karen already told her earlier that day. She saw the look in her eyes. Girl, bye. She over here told us, oh, no, because she, offered to come over there and be with her. And she was like, y'all have been around me enough. I just want some me time. I just want to be at the house by myself. Blah, 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 and all this crap. Karen wasn't buying that mess, and she came right over there. And she waited until the opportunity presented itself, and old boy opened that door. And she stepped in there. Boom, guess who stepped in the room? I am so here for it. Oh my gosh, I meant to say that earlier in the episode. But anyway, y'all, hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review of Tyler Perry's Sistas. This was a lot. Next week is going to be interesting once they have the exchange. But anyway, y'all have a good one. Bye.